This is the YOB ConvoCast, one-on-one conversations with your other brother's authors, community members, supporters, and friends.
When I'm with you, I feel like I'm already home. When I'm with you, I'm right where I belong. I'm already home.
What's up, friends? Welcome back to the YOB ConvoCast, conversations with our faithful Your Other Brothers community. My name's Tom. I'm the co-founder, editor of YOB, and we're a community navigating faith, homosexuality, and masculinity together. And we are in the middle. Now that we've done a couple episodes now, I can safely say we are in the middle of this at-home ConvoCast series. Conversations with people in our community as we just get to learn and explore all the different ways that we exist in this world, the places we call home, and how we feel at home in our faith, at home in our sexuality, at home in our masculinity. And it's inevitable that when I come up with the theme and when I think about the types of episodes I want to have and the types of people I want to talk to, like inevitably a couple names just kind of bubble to the surface right away. And this one bubbles up fairly often. He's been on the show many times before. He's one of my co-founders, which is just so great. It's so great that not only was he there at the beginning of YOB, but he predates YOB, everybody. Like, our friendship goes back. We're getting close to 2 decades now, which doesn't feel possible because we're still so young. But it's my other brother, Matt. What's up, Matt?
What up, everyone?
What up? We need to celebrate when we get to 20 years of friendship. I hope you're ready.
I can't believe that it's going to be 20 years coming up.
2008, 2009, somewhere around that area.
Yeah, well, we got like a few more years left. So
yeah.
It doesn't feel like 20 years at all.
Yeah, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. But...
No, yeah, I don't want to think about that because it's going to age me. And I'm already loving who I am, and I'm loving how I look, and I'm loving my health and everything, because everybody where I live thinks that I'm still in my mid-20s. So
yeah, I get that too. I think you and I are aging very well. I always get like late 20s. Maybe you get mid-20s. Yeah, I think you and I are doing well for people who are actually in our... Can I say this, that you're in your mid-30s?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're both in our mid-30s, and people know that we're basically the same age. So yeah, it's exciting to be having this conversation with you, Matt. And the reason this is great because you're an Enneagram 8, you pull no punches, you're just very direct, you're very blunt. So I feel like I can ask you a bunch of awkward questions that I've always wanted to ask you for the duration of our friendship. And this podcast is going to give me the reason to ask you a bunch of questions about your life. And I feel like you're just going to be fine with it, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, as long as you don't like upset me, like we're good.
No, these are great questions because as long as I've known you, I mean, please correct me, Matt. I feel like as long as I've known you, you've always lived with family members. Is that true? Is that a true statement? Yeah,
that's a very, very, very true statement.
Okay,
I've always lived with family members. So like, I don't think I actually ever roomed with my friends before. Mm-hmm. So yeah, family.
And this is going to be a great episode because I knew when I started this series I definitely want to talk to somebody that lives with their family, because I imagine we have teens listening. I imagine there's always teenagers and young people listening, and so what up to the kiddos as they're listening, because they obviously live at home. They're underage, they live at home, and they're listening right now. But a good number of our adult population also lives. And I say at home, it even sounds awkward because that's the name of the series, but you can have a home outside of your family. You know what I mean, though? You live with family. And I know that's also representative of members of our community who are adults, who are over 18, who are beyond college years or young adult years. Like, they also live with family members. And so that was a conversation I definitely wanted to have. And you were the first person that came to mind, Matt. So I hope you're honored to hold that mantle and talk about your experience.
Yeah, I am honored to hold that mantle. And I would say, I mean, like, if it wasn't for the economy and a few other stuff, I would be living by myself. I've always wanted to live by myself, but never got the
Okay.
chance. But we'll discuss that more in this podcast.
Yeah, that's a teaser. Okay, because I've always wanted to know, are you just completely content where you are, or do you have aspirations for other things? So we will explore that later. Well, that's a teaser. That's a nice little teaser for where we're going in this
Yes.
episode. First, like we'll start in the present and then we'll do a severe backtrack. So like in general, who do you live with now? So when you say you live with your family, like who is that? Who do you live with right now?
So as of right now, I live with my aunts and uncle, and I would say one, two, three, four-ish cousins. So it's a household
Okay, it's a full
of
house.
of yeah, it's my aunts and uncle and their children, all living in one house. We're all adults, and my cousins live with their parents because their mother has like some medical condition, so all of them have to be there by her side at least like almost like 24/7. At least there has to be one person at the house, so they have to take care of her. For myself, I mean, I get to pay $200 for rent every month, so like I am happy with that.
Dang.
And I'm not usually at the house all the time. I have a life, so like I do my own thing, and where I live is a place where I can rest my head.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I've visited you many times, and I feel like I mean, obviously, when I visit you, you're something somewhat outside of your normal rhythms, but I don't get the sense too much that when I'm with you that you're not going to the gym or you're not hanging out with your 300 friends at these 7 different church services and church gatherings and et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah.
you keep busy, and so yeah, so thanks for giving clarification. I had no idea there were that many people living under one roof. That is like a sitcom right there.
Yeah, it's. I mean, we make it work. I would say it's a sitcom. We have our funny moments, and we've been doing this for like maybe I'm gonna say 5, 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, me being in the house, I've lived with them for like 5, 6 years, roughly around then, and it worked out pretty well. It's working out still. Um, I mean, I just pay my dues, aka rent, and if they need any help, like any of my extended family members, I help them out whenever I can. Whether it's taking my auntie to the hospital or taking one of my cousins to work, just in case like their vehicle dies or anything like that, or like just household chores or work around the yard or whatever. If they need help, like I um, am ready to help them out whatsoever. But other than that, it's like again, as I said before, I have my own life, and with what you teased me about with my 700 or 7 churches I go to and like 300 people that I always hang out with, like whatever.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mean, like I make it work. I make it work. It's my own life, so I love it.
Yeah. I mean, if you can get cheap rent, and live in a place that's safe and live in a place that's not hostile, maybe it's not ideal if it's crowded, but at the very least, like you have a place, like you said, you can lay your head at night. What is your what's your track record? What's your history then going before this place, going all the way back to where you grew up?
So I grew up in a very, very, very tiny town here in New Mexico. And it's like it was in the mountains area. And growing up there, my dad was a pastor at this like tiny church in this tiny town. And I grew up there from, I would say, second grade till after I graduated high school. And from there, I've always lived with families. I guess you start with the parents and your siblings. And that right there is my story. And no matter where I lived, family was always there because family in my culture is very, very important. We place the family very high, as like like the outside of the native community, like non-native people, like mostly like white people. Like they have a sense of individuality in their culture, in their midst, in their families. Like, yeah, it's like family is there, but they have their sense of identity, of individualness. And for us, that's the complete opposite. For us, like our um, yes, there's individuality, but also family is very, very important because at the end of the day, at the end of one's life, family will be there by your side on your deathbed, and we make sure of that as well.
Can you remind the listeners, for anyone who's listening to you for the first time or they get confused because there's lots of Matts running around? Can you tell us about your native background? Because you are not white. You mentioned white people.
No. I am not a white person. So for my background, I am a full-blooded Native American. And my tribe that I go under is the Navajo tribe, the Dene tribe. And from there, that's where I guess you could say one part of my identity wraps around with is my Native American culture, and I'm huge on that as well. I can somewhat speak it, like a word here and there. I can understand it here and there, but with the Native American culture and my family, it lives on the Navajo reservation, so they're deep on the reservation. I go back quite often, every year, whether it's family gatherings, funerals, or just like surprise parties, or just like holidays. Whenever there's times, whenever there's opportunities, I always go back to the reservation because that's where my family lives and is from. So I'm proud of that, and I stand my ground on saying that family is important in my life.
Yeah. So did you live? You mentioned earlier you lived in a small town with your family. Like, did you live on the reservation when you were growing up, or you just visit as an adult now?
So the section where I lived in this small town, outside of the town was a Mormon community, and outside of the community was the Navajo reservation. So my family lived like on the edge, like outside of this community. Mm-hmm. So I would say, yeah, like I lived on the reservation. And yeah, we neighbor also other communities, whether it's the Zuni tribe, the Apache tribe, the Acoma tribe, the Hopi tribe. So we my family, did live on the reservation. And in New Mexico, especially, there's the place where I lived was in the mountains area, and very different climates from Arizona, and that's where my parents are from, and 700 feet above sea level type of thing, and a whole bunch of rainstorms every summer, and just a bunch of wildlife, whether it's bears, deer, bobcats, whatever. Like I experienced that when I was growing up, and so did my family as well. With the reservation in Arizona, the Navajo reservation, they have a different story where they have cattle, sheep, coyotes, and just this and that. So, but still, I still take pride, like whether it's in New Mexico or Arizona, that's that is my home, like no matter what, whether both states or one state. Either one.
Yeah.
Like whether it's the reservation is my home.
Did you know growing up that this was like a special, unique place? Was it just normal to you? Maybe this is more of a perspective you have, like moving off the res and being in a city, like a pretty decent sized city, and interacting with people outside of that. Like what's your reflection on where you grew up?
So where I lived I would say growing up, it wasn't unique. It was where day in, day out, where I lived at was where I lived at. And there was nothing special to it. I always thought where I lived at, where my parents were pastoring at, or where my parents lived in Arizona, I was going to die there. And like it was just the same thing over and over again. And usually within my culture, like people, family members, whoever, they just stay where they're at, and it feels like they're trapped in there. So one of the things I knew growing up was that like I wanted to get out. I wanted to get out of the reservation and do my own thing. But the thing about my family, my immediate family, was that my parents always wanted us to explore outside of the Navajo reservation. They always made trips. They always made family trips outside of New Mexico or Arizona. They wanted us to explore the world.
Mm.
So I really thank my parents for that, and my siblings, and whether it's my brother or my sister or whatever, they make it a point where they want to pass their travels outside of the reservation down to their kids, and they want to pass it down from generation to generation, so that Native people are aware. It's like, hey, there is a world outside of the Indian reservations. So for myself, like again, as I said before, just growing up from elementary school to me graduating high school, like I never saw the uniqueness until I moved outside of the reservation. And then growing up into my adult years and into my 30s, meeting other people who were not like me, who were not the same skin color as me, who did not have the same culture as me, and who did not have the same tongue as me. Through those types of people, through my friends, I found the uniqueness way later on in life. Through those people, I found the uniqueness, and I also found the proudness, me being proud of my own uniqueness and being a Native American as well.
Yeah. I love that. I love the balance that I guess your parents gave you and your siblings, your family, to explore life outside of what you knew, because I think that's really wise. Like I think there's probably a lot of people, not even Native American, but like anybody who wants to be super protective of their kids and like shelters them, keeps them at home, doesn't like introduce them to other people or other places, and kind of, you know, on the one hand, I could create a sense of home and people just stay at home and they live with their families and they never leave. And a lot of them, I'm sure, have great, healthy family home lives, even though they don't diversify and see the rest of the world, or at least the rest of the country. But the flip side of that is there are other people then who could potentially have a home life like that. And then when they become of age, when they become an adult, they cannot wait to just like escape and get out of there and never go back. And so I think it's really cool that you had intentional times of being able to leave your home and then also like appreciate it and go back and not, it sounds like you don't have like negative feelings or negative, like, it seems like you enjoy going home.
Now I do. Growing up during my teenage years, early 20s, I didn't want to go back to the reservation because I mean, like I'm used to it. Like that's where my family's at. I know where everything's at whenever I go back. But one of my friends in the past said this to me. It's good to have a sense of belonging at home, but it's also good that you are also away from home. That way you can miss being home and have a reason to come back.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That resonates. Yeah. That resonates with me. How does your, we'll start connecting the dots from the past to the present shortly, but how does your sexuality figure into this as you grew up? Because I imagine, I mean, it's difficult to have a minority sexuality regardless of where you grow up. I find it must be an interest. I mean, you can tell me if it was a challenge to grow up in a Native American culture as a man attracted to other men. Like, what was that like growing up and piecing that together where you grew up?
Yeah. So being a Native American, it's already like, as you said, like it's a minority, but being somebody who is sexually attracted to other men, to their own gender, it's interesting because you are a minority within a minority. And within the Native American culture, it's very conservative,
right?
To say the least. And I always say this: reservations, Indian reservations, they're always like a decade behind America. So right now, I would say we're slowly starting to open up to other people's sexuality. We're starting to talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're starting to talk about it, and but they're slowly accepting here and there, not like acceptance like the whole reservation, but at least we're at the beginning parts of it. And for myself, like growing up, like gay, like it was difficult.
Also, I forgot to mention, but yeah, also to remind everyone, you're also a PK. So like growing up in the church, growing up with pastor for a parent, like just that adds another layer of complexity to your home life growing up. Yeah.
Being a pastor's kid like that right there is like, it has its problems within and of itself, but like, I mean, I got through it, and we never talked about like sexuality. We never talked about being sexually active. We were definitely in the age of purity culture, and I think during the 90s and 2000s, like that was like the age of purity culture, and that seeped into my family, and we never really talked about sex. We never really talked about homosexuality, unless like my father would like hound us, is like it's evil, and like don't hang around with these people and they're gonna go to hell and all that stuff. I mean, for those of us who grew up in a Christian household, like we probably heard something like that, whether it's your family member, your pastor, or somebody always said something against homosexuality. And for us who whether struggled with our sexuality or just accepted it, like we still like heard all those stuff, and we still had to figure out how we can manage both our faith and our sexuality. And that was the same thing for my family. And it was difficult. It was difficult to just accept who I was, accept my sexuality was here to stay, and wishing that I was like other straight guys. But eventually, like throughout life's lessons and people that I met and other gay people that I met, like I would say I'm better than I was like 20 years ago than I was 10 years ago. And it's been great. Challenging, yes, but I mean, as of right now, like I'm loving who I am, and I'm loving just stuff that's came in my way, and like me figuring out how to go about it in a Christ-like mindedness way, but also in a Matt way as well.
You were dealt the hands of a conservative culture within a conservative culture, a minority within a minority. So you had a lot of, not necessarily cards against you, but you had a lot of challenging things that you had to just consider that a lot of our community members probably don't have as much to consider. So it's cool to see where you've come. First question I've always wanted to ask you, because I have a sense of homeness when it comes back to that good old Zanga blog that we
Mhm.
used to blog on back in those late 2000s, early 2010s. Do you remember how you even found it? Was it literally just a Google search, or do you remember the season of life you were in? And then just tell me about just what that meant to you, being on this anonymous blog with all these other SSA boys back in the day.
Yeah. So I definitely remember that. It was definitely a basic Google search, and I was just trying to find somebody who like struggled like me. And this was during the time of like curiosity, of like, hey, is there anybody else who was like me? Because of course, like during the beginning stages of confronting one's own sexuality, you try to find, you have that sense of aloneness. And I definitely felt alone in my own sexuality. And I thought I was the only one, as
Yeah.
everybody has their own story, will say the same thing. So like I was curious, and like Christians struggling with same-sex attractions, or struggling with homosexuality. And then come to find out, I find your blog with a few others who write about the subject. And then, I don't know, and then found you, started writing my own blog, and then we connected. And then from there, like, I mean, here we are.
Here we are. Yeah. I still remember like your Batman profile picture. You had like a Batman layout or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Shout
Oh my
out
gosh.
to Batman.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, I'm still a fan. He's still my favorite superhero whatsoever. Like I am, like, yeah, I'm down for like any mythological Batman talk. Like I will talk about it. I'm not like really in depth, but I mean, I know a few stuff.
Yeah.
I can
it was just
around.
that was just such a magical time. Like this was, gosh, almost 10 years before YOB was co-founded. And so this was the predecessor, all these guys just blogging, doing similar Google searches. I did the same thing, Googling that phrase, Christians struggling with homosexuality, and finding a bunch of these blogs just sitting out there waiting to be discovered. And that's just such a sense of home for me when I think about sexuality and learning to talk about it and telling our story and being able to find other people like us. Like that was definitely a critical juncture for me, as I know it was for you as well. And yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see where we've both come from those good old days. I had no concept I would ever meet any of those people, so it's pretty fun that like not even like a year or two later,
here.
I'm sleeping. So that brings me to, that's a great segue actually, because it's like I started my blog in 2008. I don't know when you did yours, probably around the same time. It was definitely before 2010, because 2010, I moved to Southern California from Georgia. And so I say all that to say is I crashed with you in your home. And I think you were living with somebody, some family member. Was it your mom or an aunt, or who was it?
Yes.
Who was that? Where were you in 2010?
So the time that you visited me, so I actually was living with my younger brother and one of my cousins.
Okay.
And my mom was there. She actually was, my parents were missionaries in Canada. And around that time, they were coming to the end of their own missionary journeys to be ministering to the First Nations, which is the native people in Canada. That's what they call themselves. And my mom was starting to come back down and was starting to try to find jobs during that time. And my dad was going to follow after, like maybe 6 months later, because he had to finish off like his ministry up there. But my mom already came down already and was living with my younger brother and one of my cousins, and we all stayed in the same apartment complex. So my younger brother went somewhere, and he was gone for the weekend or something like that. And then my cousin went back to the reservation to meet her family, and yeah, so it was just me and my mom. So when you came, like it was, as I said before, it was just me, my mom, and then that's when I introduced you to my mom.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure it was your mom. I didn't think it was an aunt or a cousin or somebody. Okay. It was you and your mom. I remember seeing my first Roadrunner in the parking lot. I remember that. That was a banner moment where I was like,
Yes.
wow, I'm not in Georgia anymore. But no, this is really cool because from the beginning, like again, I was like, I feel like Matthew has always just lived with family members as long as I've known him ever since I stayed with you that one night when I was moving across the country. And so real quick then, like catch me up, like, well, were you just hopping around then, living situations with other family members to the present day? Were there any other places that you lived?
Yeah.
Any special seasons jump out, or does it all kind of run together?
It all kind of it basically runs together. Like I always live with one of my siblings.
How many siblings do you have?
I actually have two. So I have an older brother and younger brother. Yeah.
That's
When I first moved out of my parents' home, I lived with my older brother, and they were going to college, and so I roomed with them. And eventually, they moved up to Colorado to finish out like their Bible degree. And then from there, I moved in with my younger brother and my cousin, lived with them for quite some time, and then moved back with my parents at the tiny town that I grew up in just for a year because that was when the recession hit and I couldn't find a job. And then eventually I came back to where I live now and lived with my cousin again and her sibling and her dad, and then lived with them for like another year. And then my younger brother found a house. Well, technically a house. And I lived with him for like 4 years, maybe. And then maybe more than that, it feels like. And then after that, my younger brother moved out, and then I was living by myself for like 3 months. And then all my family, my parents, my older brother and sister-in-law, they all like tried to talk me into living with my aunt and uncle and cousins who I live with right now. And I was so against it because I was finally living by myself, and I loved it. And I loved the sense of like, I had my own privacy. I had my own stuff that I could just like, just deal with, cooking by myself, watching TV by myself. Like I had that like sense of like everything like I ever wanted just to live by myself was finally in my grasp. And then they came by like, yeah, I was like, the rent that you're paying is too much. You should go live with your aunt and uncle, and that way you can pay off like all your student debt and car payments and all this and that. So they eventually won, and they persuaded me. So,
and it's no easy feat to persuade you. I feel like you have your way of doing things. Was it just economically, or was it just like, was there a pull of the family, something about living with your family again? Like, yeah, what was the eventual decision there?
So here's the thing. It's hilarious. So, they were trying to talk me into it, and I just said, no. And eventually they're like, okay, like, well, on this day we're coming into town, and we are going to go stop by your place, and we're going to pack up everything, and we're going to move it to your aunt and uncle's place, and you have no say in it, and we're going to do it. And that's how they forced my hand to move. So
wow.
That's what they did. So they came by, got all my stuff. And then
wait, were you there or no?
Yeah, I was there.
And you just accepted it, like, this is happening and I can't stop it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how could I stop it? Like, they were there.
That is hard. It's just hard for me to believe, though. If just knowing you, I just feel like you would stick your foot down and say, no, I'm not leaving. I'm staying here. I'm happy.
I tried to. I really, really tried to. But then they started breaking down. Yeah, they started breaking down my bed. They took the couches. They took the TV and everything. And before then I put up a fight, but then they're like, nope, we're doing this, and we're coming by. So that's how they moved me.
Did you have any resentment at all, or was it just, or did you just realize fairly quickly, like, yeah, they're probably right. I need to save some money.
Yeah, it definitely the second one. Like I realized,
Okay.
like, do you know what? It's like, yeah, it's like I can't pay like $1,000 for rent and everything. And it's like it's cleaning me out dry, and I need the money, and I need to like start paying bills and start paying like student loans and everything. So yeah, so like I just accepted it really really quickly.
Okay. Well, that's great because as we start to wind, we're going to start to wind this conversation down now with like where we are in the present with joys and challenges of where you live, but then like also like braving a new frontier because you've teased it a couple times now that you want to live by yourself, which honestly, I've always wanted to know that about you because again, as long as I've known you, you've always lived with family members. And I've always
Yeah.
kind of wondered, like, I guess he's just, well, I know you're a people person. I know you love people and you've got all your friends. And it's always the running joke when I tell people about you. Oh yeah, every time I visit Matthew, I have to visit all of his groups and hang out with all of his friends. And I always enjoy it. It's just so foreign to me because you're a unique friend that I visit. I don't have that experience when I visit other people.
Yeah.
Not nearly to the degree that when I visit you. So I've always wondered that. Do you want to live with people the rest of your life? Does that bring you joy? Or being alone, like I could see that being a place where you could recharge and have your own way, and then you go out and you have all your people time, but then you're able to come back and have your little refuge. So is that the ideal that you're trying to get to?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I enjoy people. Like I'm kind of an extrovert, but I'm also an introvert too. Like there's definitely times where I do need to recharge, but also during like, if I recharge too much, then I need I need to surround myself with people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting. But yeah, like for myself, me living alone, like I always wanted to like host Bible studies, parties, have like a place of refuge for other people.
Yeah.
And if like somebody like says like, hey, it's like, can I stay at your place? And me for myself, like I would be willing, like, hey, sleep on the couch or sleep in the second bedroom or sleep in the guest bedroom. And like I want that for myself and for other people. And yeah, I mean, you visiting me, other people coming in and visiting me, and like it's like having a place of my own. It's like, hey, it's like this is my place, and also I get to share it with other people as well, and people who are from out of states can know and have a safe place to lay their head to, as well. And yeah, it's like that's a huge reason why like I want a place.
That's a great thought. Do you feel like do you tie any of that at all to your upbringing with living with family and having that sense of family?
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially with my parents, because my parents like did that with other people who came to the reservation. They opened up their house
Nice.
to a lot of people, especially when my dad was a pastor and in the past. Like they would open up their house to some of the youth, my friends who I grew up with in high school, and they would sometimes they would spend the night just like hanging out with us and going to church with us, and like we had a sense of community. And not only that, but with my dad knowing other people even outside of the U.S., like people from Germany, people from the U.K., people from Africa, like they would have a sense of home within my house where my parents lived. And like that from there, like I think it passed down to my siblings and I, because like for myself, like I want to host like people and where they stay. And this goes to my older brother and my younger brother. I think they have the sense of hospitality as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for you. I definitely can see that would be a big part of your future whenever you get to that point.
Yeah.
Because I think you'll be a great host based on all of your life experience, whether it's family or all the friends you've made now in your adult years. I think you'll be a great place for people to come visit. I will certainly be. one of them.
Yeah, I know I'm going to be a great host. I'm going to make sure
He
of
knows
that.
it.
I am.
He knows it.
Yeah,
every
I
day.
know. Like I already know. Like I already there's already confidence in myself with that. So like I
Absolutely.
know
No,
I'm going to be a great host, and you better enjoy your stay here where I'm at, wherever I lived at.
I shall. So yeah, this phrase at home, it kind of conjures up a sense of contentment, a sense of belonging, a sense of comfortability, in addition to the literal being at home in your under that roof within four walls, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm curious, yeah, pick your own adventure, faith, sexuality, and masculinity. Where are you at today in feeling at home based on your current life stage where you live right now?
So faith wise, like I think I'm doing pretty good. I mean, I go to two churches. You've been to both of them,
Yes.
and the sense of community is wrapped within those two churches that I go to. I mean, the last time you were here during Balloon Fiesta, you met some of my friends, and then two of them went with us to go down to the White Sands, and like you can have that, like you sense that community and also the faith aspect so strong, and I think right there is good. With sexuality, like I am pretty much an open book to whoever who would listen. The only group of people that I am not open to, and I don't think we've discussed this yet, so we can discuss it right now quickly, is my family. So that's the only one that I am not open up to.
Okay. So the people that you're living with right now, they're not aware. Is that what you're saying?
No,
Or other
yeah,
family?
the people, yeah, well, all of my family, whether it's my
Okay.
parents, my siblings, my aunts and uncles, cousins,
Your
whatever.
parents don't know. I didn't know that. I had
No,
no idea.
yeah, no,
Really?
they,
Huh.
yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't.
How did I miss that detail about you? Wow. So your entire
Well,
family. Yeah. Definitely
yeah,
talk
well,
about
you
that.
never, well, I mean, I probably to allude to it, like in the previous podcast, um, I thought I did, but yeah, my parents
Maybe
don't
all
know.
the clues were there and I just didn't connect all the dots. But okay, so that's
Yeah,
interesting. So you wouldn't say you're quote unquote at home with your biological family, with the people that you live
yeah,
with. Like that is something you have intentionally withheld from the
yeah,
relationship. And why is that?
yeah. It's definitely because like within the Native community, like there's a sense of like conservativeness and purity culture. It's still there even within the Native Christian culture. It's still there.
Mm,
And with my family, they don't know how to handle big life altering not decisions but like choices. So with my
yeah.
sexuality, if I would ever come out, like they wouldn't handle it very very well. um when my younger brother left the church, my younger brother's not a Christian anymore. He started doing his own thing, and my parents, yeah, even now, my older brother and sister-in-law, like they still have a hard time him not being a believer. I mean, they'll
Mm,
accept him and they love him and all this stuff, like, but they still have a hard time just accepting him that he's not a believer anymore.
right.
And yeah, just like discussion with porn or just I don't know, whatever, straight stuff, like they have a hard time
Hmm.
grasping of how to deal with it, and they're not ready. They're not ready. Yeah, and that's, yeah, unfortunately that's a sad thing in my life, because like outside of my family, like my friends, like my church community, they know about me, they know about my sexuality, and like we have a good old time with it and make jokes about it, and like I can be awkward and like yeah, I could be
Not
me.
just a good old time, a gay old time, basically.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, yeah, that's true.
And so that's really interesting to learn about this dichotomy, this divergence with your home life. And is that something that you hope one day you will be able to talk about with them, or is that just not something you actively hope for?
I mean, eventually, like I will, but I mean, like as of right now, I'm really content with where I'm at,
Okay.
especially with my family. Like they don't need to learn everything in my life, and
Right.
I have made
Boundaries are
peace.
good.
Yeah, boundaries are good. I've made peace with that. Even if like even if like I'm old and my parents are passed away, like as of right now, I'm comfortable with like them not knowing about my sexuality because again, as I said before, they probably wouldn't know how to handle it. I
Gotcha.
know I would probably give my mom a heart attack, and then yeah, just this and that, and I know how my family functions, and I
Mhm.
know what works with them and what does not work with them. So yeah,
I always tell people because people ask for advice sometimes. How do I come out to my parents, or how do I come out to my pastor, or how do I do this?
hmm
And I never advocate that someone should or shouldn't because it is a case by case basis. You have to find that balance. You have to find that line between, is this something I'm scared to do, but I know it will be good, or I have this feeling either God's telling me, or I've got this intuition, or I just know that, yeah, it's going to suck and I'm going to hate saying the words out of my mouth. But once we get past that, I know my family will support me or they'll accept me. You have to figure out the balance between like, where is their fear and then where is their practical like
yeah,
unsafeness, or like it's just not the right
yeah,
time, it's not the right place. And that can be hard. That can be hard for some people to figure out whether it's just something I'm scared of, but I feel like God's leading me to do it, or I feel like the intuition is there, versus like it's
hmm
just a hostile environment, or an ignorant environment, or a
yeah,
uneducated environment, whatever the language is there. Yeah. So it seems like you have a pretty good handle on like there would be fear, but then there would also be a practical just it doesn't make sense to do that right now,
yes,
which is good.
yes,
A good distinction to make.
yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly. Back home, with my family not knowing my sexuality, it's still. I mean, I still have a regular family life. I still have a very, very, very good interaction with my parents, with my siblings, and everything. And like, I'm not like in crippling fear, or I'm not like in depression or anything like that. Like, my family and I function very, very well. And them not knowing that I am gay or anything like that, it's not um, like I am like not like it feels like it seems like one would be like trapped in their own secrecy. For myself, like no, like it's just a part of life. It's just a part of a piece of who I am. But everything else, like we function very, very well. We are a family still. It's just that section of my life, they're just not ready to hear. And I'm okay with that. So I just wanted to say that for anybody else who like wants to push against me, is like, hey, is like you still need to tell your family because like I'm worried about you and like it's going to eat you up. It's like no, it's like I still function normally with
Yeah.
my family. So like that's a thing that I wanted to say as well.
And it's a beautiful thing that even though you don't have that with the physical home where you are now, or the metaphorical home of your family back home, like you have the fact that you have that in your friendships and your churches and all your groups that you're in, like that's really
Yeah,
cool. That's really encouraging that you're not a lone ranger by any means. Like you're definitely bringing other people into that part of your life, and that's encouraging. There's no right way to do this as far as telling your family or not. It's a case by case basis. So you have to
yeah,
use your best judgment. All right, masculinity.
yeah. So
How manly do
masculine.
you feel right now?
I mean, I feel great as a man. I feel great as a guy. I mean, well, I mean, you've seen my friends, the people that I hang out. It's like you and a few other people, a few other gay men within YOB. I would say you guys are in awe of the friends that I hang out with because
You would say we're in awe. Is that what you said?
I mean that's from my perspective. I don't know if that's
I would
true or
I
not.
wouldn't say I'm in awe, but I would say you have a group of men that you hang out with.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
There are people,
yeah,
I'll say this, there are men in Yob that don't hang out with the types of men that you hang out with. So that's the
yes,
distinction.
I know
Yeah.
that for sure. I know that for sure, and I have a feeling if they ever meet my friends, especially the ones who would be deemed as toxic masculinity, type of people. Um,
They're just very broy. Is
Yeah,
it broy the
they
right
are.
word? You literally had a group called the Hebrews, right? Is that
Yeah,
not accurate? The Hebrews.
that's accurate. That's very, very accurate.
But how did you find that? Like, yeah, how do you feel at home? How do you feel comfortable with them? Do you not feel a level of separateness or distinctness because of your sexuality or
No,
anything? Why is that? Why are you the way that you
no,
are?
like the reason why the way that I am is, I would say it's also just growing up on the reservation, because with the reservation, you have to take care of livestock. You have to provide for the family, whether it's your grandparents, your parents, neighbors. There's some way you need to provide, and whether it's herding sheep, cattle, riding horses, going out to the forest and hauling wood for your parents, for your grandparents, for the neighbors who are in need. I think that's helped myself growing up during the elementary years and high school years of me becoming comfortable with my masculinity. And during the college years and leading up to where I am currently, I had to get out of my own introvertedness and just talk to people and learn how to be myself, even my goofy self and my blunt self. And I think that helped out a lot, even with my siblings. My older brother was very, very hard on me, and you think that I'm mean? My older brother's way meaner than me. Like, he's worse. And my younger brother has this edge to him within his masculinity as well. And I think being around them helped out to define it helped define, sharpen the edges, not sharpen the edges. What am I trying to say? It's smooth the edges. There we go. Of being friends with bro-like people, like straight bros. And with the Hebrews group, I went to a Bible study, and one of the leaders was speaking that night. And this dude is muscular, and he was getting his doctorate's degree during the time. And I would say gay men, just in general, would deem him very, very handsome. And so I would say I use kind of my sexuality of hey, this dude is very good looking, but also during using the faith aspects, hey, he's also a brother in Christ. I'm just going to go up to him and just introduce myself, give him a compliment of how he did very, very well with his Bible study, and just chit chat. And which I did. And then he told me about his Bible study and then invited me to it, went over there, loved it, and started hanging out with them. I eventually came out to them within I would say the first couple of months. And then after that, they accepted me of who I was. And then I just became part of the dudes. And then from there, it helped me out to have a sense of masculinity, my own identity within myself, and be comfortable with who I am. Even the stuff that other people would call feminizing, or fem, whatever. Be comfortable with that. So, and also slowly be comfortable with physical touch. Not all the way, because for those who know me, I'm not very big on physical touch, but eventually being around men who actually know that being physically touched is healthy. Being comfortable with their own skin is healthy, and also words of affirmation as well. Telling hey, you look good, or you have a sense of joy when we're hanging out with you, or just etc. Whatever. Being within my own masculinity, I'm very comfortable with who I am, and I love who I am. And I would say other people would probably like deem me harsh, but I mean, you get what you get.
I've given you props on previous podcasts though, because you're still always going to be a direct person, and I think that's an attribute. That's a good attribute to have. But you used to have sharper edges. That's a good metaphor. You've rounded out a bit. You're more approachable, I feel. I've seen a change in you, and it just makes, I think that's a well-rounded masculinity, and I love the people that you roll with. I always enjoy it. I make fun of it, but I think it's all out of good nature, because I always love getting to feel like a bro when I hang out with your broy bros every time I visit, and it's always just a great time. It's good to see you still hitting the gym, feeling good in your body, probably. I imagine I imagine that's still going well. I know that's really important to you, as it is to me. We're making some good strides, you and me
definitely.
both.
Definitely part of the masculinity, and also having other gym bros with me and working out together. Like there's a sense of community as well in that aspect, and I love it. I love it, and also that's where we open up even more, even after the gym. Like I always ask them, like, hey, how are you doing mentally? How are you doing emotionally? How are you doing spiritually? I want to know, and I want to encourage you and lift you up, and and don't you lie to me too, because like I know when people are people are lying. It's like you lure them in with a gym workout, and then you pry into their souls, and you're like, tell me now what's going on in your world, and do not lie to me. I love that. I love that strategy. What a great way to build a deep friendship. Yeah, it works for me. I don't know if it'll work for you, but it definitely works for me. So, I like that strategy. Yeah. Find a way to rope in the dudes, and then and then bring them in with the hard-hitting questions. Matthew, it's always so fun to connect with you. Again, if you guys ever come to New Mexico, hit me up, and I'll do my best to be a tour guide. He can't host you at the moment, but maybe when he's got his own place, he will. Yes, if I ever get my own place, you guys can stay where I'm at. You can see my friends here. They'll love you. Just don't be weird. And that's it. That's like most of our community. I think that applies to most of them. They're not too weird. I love this conversation. It was so great to learn more about you. I learned at least 3 or 4 new things about you in this conversation, Matt. So I appreciate your sharing some of your upbringing, your journey of where you've lived through the years and how that's affected you. I would love our listeners, if you have any questions, if you have any story points that you want to share with the world, go to yourotherbrothers.com/podcast, find Matthew's At Home ConvoCast, and leave us a comment. Tell us about if you live with family, if that's fun and easy and great, or if it's challenging and limiting as well. The prospect of coming out to family, that's a relevant conversation as well. If you have any thoughts to share on that, feel free. Tell us a story. We would love to hear from you. Another thing that I want to say is guess who's coming to visit sometime soon in the near future. As in you visiting me. Yeah, as in me visiting you. So as in you visiting my home. Yeah. Yes, I was going to mention that at the end. I'm glad you brought it up. So YOB community, I am finally keeping my promise, and I am going to go visit Tom. Longtime listeners will know that I this is not hyperbole, Matthew. I have visited you like 7 times, 8 times. It's been a lot of times, including 2 times. I know at least 2 times staying with you, moving across the country multiple times. So somewhere around 7 or 8 times I have come to you, and not once have you come to me. We had some smaller retreats, which are like asterisks, but as far as you coming to a place where I live, that has never happened. But it's about to in a month, and I can't wait. I can't wait for you to see my side. Yes, it's going to be great. I finally found tickets that is below $1,000 round trip. I finally found it, so I can finally. I was gonna joke with you and be like, for all that money that you're saving by paying $200 a month for rent, you better be able to afford a plane ticket to come to me, and it'll be great. Yeah. We might meet some community members, and we might just have a good old. It'll be a quick trip, but I'm excited to introduce you to my home and show you around the Blue Ridge. It's gonna be amazing. I can't wait. I'm sure we'll recap it on a future podcast. Yes. We will. We freaking better.
All right, Matt. Well, thanks for taking the time. It's always good to catch up with you. I really appreciate you.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, and hopefully, when we see each other, I don't kill you.
Let us hope. Let us hope, friends.
Yeah.
Until we gather at home once again.
Later, you guys.
When I'm with you, I feel like I'm already home.
Oh no, we lost you again. Did your phone overheat? You guys, for the bonus material, Matt's phone has overheated 2 times now in the New Mexico sun. He's sitting in his car. This is why he's not recording at home, because he can't talk about sexuality when he's at home. He's got to be in his car. And when he's in his car in the New Mexico summer, his phone is going to overheat. Right at the end of our conversation, too. The ending of this segment might just be a monologue of me hoping and praying that Matt comes back to me. Like, I hope we get to have an actual goodbye, Matt. I hope one blessed cloud passes over you for we only need 5 minutes. 3 minutes. We only need 3 minutes to close this episode, Matt. So Lord, right now, I pray for a cloud. I pray for a cloud of protection to go over Matt's car, shield that sun, cool things down there, cool things off for 3 minutes, and we'll finish this episode. Amen. And listeners, if you're listening to this, it came back. He's back. Overheat again.
Okay, sorry about that. My phone overheated because it was in the sun. It's 95 degrees outside, so I am rolled down my windows.
We're almost done.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for suffering in your 95-degree New Mexico heat with your phone.
Yeah, I'm going to go.
You can't ever record at home, so you have to go to your car. So that's just how it is with you. But that's great.
Yeah. No. Yeah. My again, aunts and uncle and cousins are there currently right now.
That's a limitation.
And that's a limitation. Work. Yeah, I do make it work. And as of right now, as of right now, I'm going to go to the swimming pool and I'm going to bask in water and cool off and everything because I am sweating right now.
Nice. I'm going to take a shower. So we're both getting watered. That's great. I'm in my non-air conditioned room at the moment. So yeah, I feel your pain on some level. Probably not as much, but to some degree. Yes.